The ugly sister was sent to the millionaire as a joke, but she was everything he had ever dreamed of. When the Harrington sisters were mentioned in town, everyone's eyes automatically turned toward the elder one, Clara. She was everything a man could dream of, radiant, confident, and effortlessly beautiful. The younger sister, Elsie, was often ignored, whispered about, and laughed at behind her back. With her quiet demeanor, thick glasses, and a scar on her cheek from a childhood accident, she was labeled the ugly one. Yet no one saw how her heart glowed brighter than all the diamonds her sister flaunted. It all began one cold evening at the grand mansion of the millionaire, Alexander Reed. He was a self-made man, stoic and powerful, his name echoing in every business circle. Every woman in town dreamed of catching his eye. But Alexander had no interest in shallow charm. He'd built his empire from nothing and didn't trust those who only saw his fortune. When he announced he was hosting a charity gala and looking for a partner for his upcoming international trip, the entire town went into a frenzy. Clara was determined to win. "I'll be the one he chooses," she declared to her friends. But her mischievous friends, tired of her arrogance, decided to play a cruel joke. "Let's send your sister in your place," one laughed. "He'll see what kind of taste your family has." Clara laughed too, thinking it would be hilarious. "Fine. Let Elsie go. I'll tell her Mr. Reed requested her presence himself. The embarrassment will teach her not to hide behind me." When Elsie was told that Alexander Reed wanted to meet her, she could hardly believe it. Her hands trembled as she fixed her plain dress, trying to make herself presentable. He wants to meet me?" she asked, voice soft and uncertain. "Yes," Clara smirked. "He asked for you specifically. Don't make him wait." That night, as the carriage rolled toward Reed Mansion, Elsie's heart pounded so hard she thought it might leap from her chest. She clutched the small locket her late mother had given her and whispered, "Please let me make a good impression." The guards at the gate looked surprised when she introduced herself, but she was allowed in. Inside, chandeliers sparkled like stars. The guests were dressed in elegance, their laughter echoing through the marble halls. Elsie felt out of place, but she lifted her chin and walked forward with quiet grace. Alexander noticed her almost immediately. Amid the sea of jewels and vanity, her simplicity stood out. Her shy smile, the sincerity in her eyes, it struck him like a spark. When she awkwardly curtsied and stammered, "Good evening, Mr. Reed," he smiled gently. "Good evening, Miss Harrington. You seem nervous." I wasn't sure if I should even be here," she admitted honestly. "I'm not like the others." "That," he said, his eyes warm, "is precisely why you belong here more than anyone." They talked the entire evening. While others boasted about themselves, Elsie listened. She spoke about her love for books, her late parents, and how she wanted to start a small art school for orphans someday. Alexander found himself captivated, not by her appearance, but by her soul. As the night ended, he offered to drive her home himself. Clara, waiting at the door, expected to see her sister humiliated. Instead, she froze when she saw Alexander Reed helping Elsie out of the car, holding her hand as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "Good night, Miss Harrington," he said softly. "I hope to see you again soon." "Good night," Elsie whispered, cheeks pink. When the car drove away, Clara's jealousy flared like fire. "What did you say to him?" she snapped. "Nothing. He was just kind." "Don't act innocent, Elsie. You've ruined everything." From that night onward, Alexander found reasons to see her again. He sent books she mentioned, invited her to art exhibitions, and even asked her opinion on his charity projects. Word spread quickly. The town whispered. The ugly sister caught the millionaire. People sneered, mocked, and speculated. But Alexander didn't care. To him, Elsie was like a breath of honesty in a world full of masks. One afternoon, he invited her to his private garden. "Do you know why I like this place?" he asked as they walked among blooming roses. "Because here, everything grows quietly. No one competes, no one pretends. It reminds me of you." Elsie blushed. "You shouldn't say such things, Mr. Reed. People will think you've lost your senses." "Then let them think that," he smiled. "Because I know what I feel." She couldn't meet his eyes. "You deserve someone beautiful, someone who fits your world." He gently tilted her chin up. "Beauty fades, Elsie. But kindness, warmth, and courage, they're eternal. Tears welled in her eyes. No one had ever spoken to her like that. Not even her own family. Days turned into weeks. Their bond deepened. Yet Clara's envy grew darker. One evening, she burst into Alexander's office uninvited. "You're making a mistake," she cried. "Elsie is not who you think she is. She's plain, uneducated, she'll embarrass you." Alexander rose slowly, his gaze turning icy. "Miss Harrington, if you came here to insult your sister, you should leave." "She's tricking you," Clara insisted. "She's not fit to be your wife." "You're right," he said calmly. "She's not fit to be my wife, she's perfect for it." Clara's face drained of color. You can't mean that." "I do," he said firmly. "And I'd advise you not to underestimate the one person in your family who actually knows what love means." Clara left in fury, determined to destroy what her sister had found. The next day, Elsie received an anonymous letter claiming Alexander was engaged to a foreign heiress. Her heart shattered. Without confronting him, she packed her few belongings and left town. When Alexander came to visit, the house was empty. The maid handed him a note in Elsie's handwriting. "Thank you for showing me what kindness feels like. But I don't belong in your world. Please forget me." His heart sank. He searched everywhere, but she was gone. Weeks turned into months. He couldn't focus on business, couldn't sleep. The world felt dull without her laughter. One winter evening, he traveled to a small coastal village where one of his charities had opened a new orphanage. There, among children's laughter, he heard a familiar voice reading a story aloud. He followed it, and froze. Elsie sat by the fireplace, surrounded by children, her eyes glowing with peace. When she saw him, the book slipped from her hands. "Mr. Reed," she whispered in disbelief. "You left without a word," he said softly, stepping closer. "I thought I was a joke to you," she admitted, voice trembling. "Someone like me doesn't end up with someone like you." He took her hands. "Elsie, do you really think I fell in love with your looks? You left, and my world turned gray. I don't need perfection, I need you." Tears filled her eyes. "I was so afraid. Then let me take that fear away," he murmured. "Marry me, Elsie." The children around them gasped in delight. "Say yes." One giggled. Elsie covered her face, laughing through tears. "Are you sure you want a plain woman like me? I want the woman who made me believe in love again." She nodded, unable to speak. He slipped a simple silver ring onto her finger, the same one his mother had worn. Months later, the town was once again buzzing. The ugly sister had become Mrs. Elsie Reed. On the day of their wedding, Clara watched from the crowd, her pride crushed. She couldn't understand how her sister, the one everyone mocked, had become the woman every heart admired. But those who knew the truth smiled knowingly. Because when Elsie walked down the aisle, radiant in her modest gown, even the harshest critics fell silent. Alexander couldn't take his eyes off her. After the vows, as he kissed her hand, he whispered, "Do you know the first thing I noticed about you?" "My scar," she teased gently. He smiled. "No, your courage. It made you the most beautiful woman I've ever known." Their love became legendary in the town. They worked together to build schools and hospitals, focusing on helping those who had no voice. Elsie never forgot where she came from, and Alexander never stopped reminding her that she was his greatest treasure. One evening, as they sat watching the sunset from their garden, Elsie asked softly, "Do you ever regret choosing me?" He turned to her with a smile that still made her heart race. "Every day I wake up, I thank the universe for sending me the wrong sister." She laughed, resting her head on his shoulder. "You mean the right one." "Exactly," he whispered, kissing her hair. "The one who was everything I had ever dreamed of." Years later, when people spoke of Alexander Reed, they didn't just speak of the millionaire. They spoke of his wife, the kind, humble woman who had turned his empire into a legacy of love. The woman once mocked as ugly became the symbol of beauty itself, not in face, but in heart. And so the cruel joke that sent her to him turned into the greatest miracle of both their lives. For sometimes, destiny wears the mask of coincidence, and the love you least expect becomes the love that changes everything.